Hello everyone and welcome to alt.NET February. Now please post something in the comments, show us you're here, and then once we know there's people listening, we'll start rolling with things. So we have Justin here to talk about .NET Aspire, which is looking to be a very interesting talk. And we have Francis, who is my co-host and is just recovering from being in bed and very sick. But he's with us today. Want to say anything, Francis, to prove you're still alive?
Yeah. I literally got on my deathbed to hear some Microsoft Aspire talk. So hopefully it's definitely going to be worth today.
It's worth dosing up on drugs and crawling out of bed. We got one hello all, which is a good start. So we have the competitions as usual. But we've got even more this time. So we usually have the 2 JetBrains licenses to give away. This time we've actually got a ticket for the programmable conference, which is it 22nd of March, Francis? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember. It's I do know it's the Thursday after DD development. That's how I remember it in my head.
Let me just quickly post the link to it for the programmable conference. So sorry, 21st of March. So we have one free ticket to give away. Okay, post this, and we also have a discount code too that we can pop in the chat shortly. Do that as well. So we'll get started in a minute or two. Just waiting for a few more people to come onto the chat. All right, got the discount code as well.
The chatting says the Aspire is the still toe killer. I'm not so I can't say this is a killer for the still toe, but because I have very little knowledge about the still toe, but who knows?
It's a killer of all things.
Yeah, it helps. It helps actually on building the application for the cloud native way. No bother.
So I've pulled up the programmable code as well for the 10% discount. I'll stick that in and in the chat. Here we go. So if you're not lucky enough to win the ticket and still want to go, then that might be a good option. All right. Well, it's just after 7:05, so maybe we should get started. Anything else you want to tell people, Francis, before we get into Justin's talk?
I guess if you do get to win the programmable ticket, you get to hang out with us.
Oh yeah, we'll go to the program.
if you
assuming that's a plus, then we'll be there.
I'm also going to be attending DDD Melbourne, I think. So if anyone's going to DDD Melbourne, I hope to come and say hello to me. It's definitely my favorite conference, potentially around the world. I think I really love the kind of like the small, kind of very community different kind of atmosphere. I guess you could even argue that's what Sydney alt.net's about. So yeah.
What dates
to both conferences?
What dates the DDD Melbourne on?
That's a Saturday, I think, before programmable. So I think something like the 15th, maybe.
Sounds good. All right. So let's get rolling with things. Oh yeah, sorry. Just before we do, so the prizes are based on answering questions at the end. So we'll think up some questions throughout the course of Justin's very interesting talk, and then at the end I'll ask the questions, and I think we'll have to have the hardest question for the programmable ticket, because that one is quite a good prize. I mean, the other ones are decent, but the programmable ticket, I think it's like $400 or something worth, so fairly good. All right, so without further ado, let me introduce Justin. So Justin is a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft, and he was an MVP in Azure and .NET. So he's an expert on .NET Aspire, and whether it kills, we'll see what it kills, and to the talk. So I'll bring Justin's screen up here. Here we go.
Sure.
And leave you in his hands now. And feel free to ask questions as usual as we go through and in the chat, and I'll just ask them in person to Justin, I mean in voice.
Sure. Let me start now. Right. So yeah, as the James and Francis introduced me, it's all about the .NET Aspire. And .NET Aspire lands in the building a cloud-native application. So yeah, thanks for inviting me to the Sydney Alt.NET meetup. It's my first time to give a presentation in this meetup. And I used to live in Melbourne until 2019. And I came here in Korea as a kind of a second month here. So for about 4.5 years now. Yeah. So yeah, as the James introduced me, I'm Justin as a senior cloud advocate from Microsoft, and this is my GitHub handle and LinkedIn handle. So if you follow me on both the LinkedIn or GitHub, and you will be able to see a lot of sample code using Azure or .NET, and a lot of the dead joke and on Twitter or on the LinkedIn, something like that. Yeah. So that's me. So let's move on to the .NET and cloud native. So let's discuss the term cloud native first. So what do you think the cloud native applications are? So when people say cloud native, it usually points to the containers and Kubernetes, something like that. Containers and or Kubernetes, definitely they are definitely the cloud native, but not all cloud native applications architectures are containers or Kubernetes. So it's like the something interesting fact here. So to me, cloud native should satisfy 0 to scale. So when there's no traffic, it should be 0 instances. Then as the traffic increases, it should scale up as many instances as possible. So therefore, any system architecture meets this term, the 0 to scale, it can be called cloud native. That's my thought. So in the cloud term, therefore, both serverless architecture and Kubernetes are cloud native. But this session focuses on the Kubernetes, by the way, anyway. So in order to build the cloud native applications, so what should we consider, especially in .NET landscape? I think there are two factors. We should consider, which is resiliency and observability. So at any time an application goes unhealthy, it should be recovered by itself. And to do so, it should be monitored from end to end. So we should support this kind of end-to-end monitoring as an observability, and we should recover the unhealthy or dead instance from dead to the live or something like that. So yeah, so these two things are kind of two famous factors of cloud native application development. So in .NET, in .NET world, there have been many .NET libraries and tools released for the cloud-native application development. So these are just a few. There are actually more than that. So like health check endpoint library, or Kestrel, the lightweight servers, or HTTP client factory wrapper, or gRPC, native AOT, and so forth. So these are just a few. But there's a problem. There are too many libraries here. And how can we put together in a proper way? This is the main question. Is there any way to put them together on my behalf? And these are the common questions from the community and customers, like how to get my web applications to talk to API applications properly, and what should I do with the configuration on dev environment and production environment, and should I or shouldn't I use containers for my application to deliver my applications or to solve my applications? And what should I do with end-to-end logging or monitoring? So these are common questions from the customers and communities. There will be a lot of headache while implementing these kind of things one by one by yourself. And as a result, that's not fun at all. I personally don't like it at all. So from .NET 8, .NET Aspire was introduced to make our lives easier, to solve those kind of questions. So what's .NET Aspire again? So before jumping into there, let's think about this scenario. Very simple scenario. You want to add Redis cache into your front-end application. In the current process, so what should I do? So I need to install a NuGet package, Redis NuGet package first. Then I also need to install the health check Redis package. So I need to install these two things first. Then use the program.cs file and app settings.json file. I need to configure. I do configuration, everything, and I need to write some IOC container for the dependency injections, all sorts of things. Then I need to implement the health check logic to check availability for the Redis cache server. And for the logging purpose, I need to implement iLogger interface for logging for the Redis cache client, and do all the metrics profiling or event, these kind of plumbing stuff for the Redis client as well. And finally, for the resiliency, the setup for the Redis cache as well. So these kind of things I have to do by myself. There are too many bits and pieces to take care of by ourselves. So what if we can simplify this kind of stuff? So that's where Aspire comes in. So let's add Aspire-flavored or Aspire-wrapped Redis cache instead to your front-end web application. And how can it be simplified? How can it simplify our overall process? So this is the NuGet package we are going to install. So Aspire wrapped Redis cache package, like an Aspire.stackexchange.redis cache package. So this is only one NuGet package. Then we just add your front-end application to this line, builder.add Redis output cache. That's it, 2 lines. Okay. And if you have more granular control on the Redis cache, then you can add something, or you can customize default configuration through app settings.json file. but this is completely optional. So you can use without any modification. Then in that case, you just add this NuGet package in the yellow line and add the one line of the code into your program.cs file of your web application. So .NET Aspire is we can say is opinionated and cloud-ready stack. So what that means is that we gathered a lot of feedback about building cloud-native applications from customers and set up a best practices for it. So we say it's opinionated because it's coming from the best practices. But at the same time, it's highly configurable. So you can customize this workflow for your work-specific the scenarios through the app settings.json file or something like that. The Aspire applies to the best practice so that we don't have to worry about all the workflows we have manually done so far, right? So, but if you want, you can customize it. So that's why we say opinionated stack. So within this, the Aspire, we add all those resiliency settings and observability features all at once. So it is ready to use. It is that's why we say production ready, and yeah, kind of thing. And there are many different scenarios building cloud native applications. So some projects need Redis cache. Some projects need message bus like RabbitMQ, or some projects need event streaming like Kafka or something like that. But they are all different scenarios. Therefore, Aspire supports your specific needs by the collection of the NuGet packages. So all you need is to install Aspire wrapped Redis package, Aspire wrapped RabbitMQ package, Aspire wrapped Kafka package. Then Aspire will automatically connect your applications all together with these packages. So the term connect is, we can say, is orchestration. So as I said, Aspire connect all the apps together. So it's like an orchestration. So we don't have to worry about all the plumbing stuff. It does everything on our behalf. And not all cloud native components are ready to use with Aspire at the moment. It's still preview, and so new the cloud native tools and libraries or servers service is keep coming in. In this case, we cannot support everything all at once. So instead, Aspire provides standardized interfaces. So if you want to include a certain component with Aspire, which is currently unavailable for now, then you can wrap it by yourself by implementing those standardized interfaces, so that you can add your you can add your preferred cloud native component, which is not ready yet, into our the Aspire, the orchestration system. And finally, there are a bunch of development tools for Aspire, like Visual Studio Code, .NET CLI, and other third-party extensions, and so forth. So you can start from scratch with Aspire, or you can add Aspire into your existing applications. So how can you use Aspire? Excuse me. So what should we do for .NET Aspire to use? First of all, you need to install .NET 8 first, right? So .NET Aspire is available from .NET 8. So .NET 8 is the must. Then install the .NET Aspire workload, because it's not natively, or it's not coming with the default workload. So you need to install the Aspire. first. .NET workload install Aspire. Then run .NET new Aspire startup command. You need to make sure that this command is only for the new project from the scratch. So if you are starting a new project and you want to use a .NET Aspire, then this command, .NET new Aspire starter, is very handy. Why is it handy? Because it comes with the project first. The web application project using Blazor, and API application project using minimal API of ASP.NET Core Web API. So these two projects is bundled with an Aspire starter project. Now, on top of that, these two app host and service default, these two projects are the core of .NET Aspire. So app host is the orchestration project. As I said, it orchestrates everything. The .NET Aspire is kind of orchestration. So app host takes care of all those orchestration. And this service default, this project provide extension method for resiliency, observability, and health check, and so forth. So you can use this extension method with default option. But if you want, you can customize. That's why it is served as code in a separate project instead of the library. Now, most cases are adding .NET Aspire into the existing application architecture. So in this case, you can simply run this command, .NET new Aspire. Right? And then you will only have these two projects, app host or service default. Or you can add app host and service default individually. So this is how we can use. Now, let's take a look at the demo. So I'm going to run the .NET Aspire project on my local machine. So I have existing the Blazor and the backend API, ASP.NET Core API application. Then I will add these two app host and service default projects into the existing application architecture. So if you want to use this Aspire project, you need to use the container. So probably Docker Desktop is the simplest and easiest option for you. Or if you prefer, you can use GitHub Codespaces. For now, I'm going to use my own desktop. So let's take a look. Now we have where is my? Oops, not this one. Not this one. Okay, this one. Yep. So I have the both API application and the web application. Okay. So it has, if I run this application, hang on. Okay. Is it? Okay. So let's run this application. Hang on. Let's check properties. I want to run this application. Okay. At the same time. Okay. So I want to run this application at the same time. So we have API application and web application. And what it does is that it has the backend API and it has front-end API as a Blazor. And it will show you a very simple the input UI like this. So in here, I will put so there are two UIs here. So I'm not gonna use this one. So this is the API. So I will put the YouTube URL, and this YouTube based on this YouTube URL, it takes it extracts all the subtitle captions from that URL, from the video, and summary it into the designated language, so such as like English or Korean, something like that, using the Azure OpenAI. So if I click the summarize button, it will run in the background. So okay, so it has so it's running like that. It's running it's checking the all the APIs here. So once it's done, it returns something like this. So it summarizes the 1 hour video, something like that. So which is okay. Now it's just an application. Now I want to add the Aspire project in here. So let's get back to here. If I want to add Aspire, the new project, then where is it? The Aspire. So if I searched up Aspire, then it says okay. So Aspire starter application or Aspire application. This is the something, and or if I can add the Aspire service default project or Aspire app host project individually. So I'm just add Aspire app host first project first. Now I want to hang on. I want to copy one. Add new project. So Aspire app host project. Then okay, app host project under this one. So then there is only the .NET 8 support at this moment. So you will be Aspire is only support .NET 8 and .NET 9 and so forth. So you cannot use .NET Aspire the lower than .NET 8. So I create the add app host project here. Now I also want to add another one, service default project. Here, service default project as well. So the same service default project. Now, so I added both service default project and app host project, right? So these are something we can do, but in here, nothing's nothing new. So what should I do for now? So app host project is, as I said, is an orchestration engine. So I need to add both API application and a web application project into app host. So I'm going to add project reference to the app host file, API application and a web application. Then it will be added like this. Okay. And also the service default project only has this extension method. And this is including resiliency, the health check, or observability, these kind of things, right? So how can I use this? So I need to add this service default project into API app project reference, then service default. Also, the same thing goes into the web application, into project reference, service default, right? So by doing so, API app has service default, right? Service default project, and also web application has service default project, like this, right? So with this information, let's slightly change over app host project. So let's open the app host project here and program the CS. Nothing here, right? And how can we add something in here? So app host is basically the orchestration engine. So I'm going to add something. So what can I add? So I'm going to add these lines, yeah, like this. So can you see that? So I add project with API app, and I gave it name API app, and it is created as an instance. Now I add web application. Then this web application is referenced to the API application like this, right? And by doing so, these two the applications are connected together, and so that all the observability, telemetry, the information goes from the web application to the backend API application without doing anything. Only I did is to add these two lines. Okay. Now I need to, but in order to use those telemetry and those kind of things, I need to add this API application and web application with this. So under the container builder, I'm going to use add service default, which comes from the service default project. Okay, and this map, I also add map endpoint. So that's to create the health check endpoint. Okay, so this is the one. Now another one, the same thing goes into the web application project as well. So I'm going to add the same thing at the where is it? The service default extension method and default endpoint method like this. Now, another one interesting thing is that so when we see here, we add HTTP client, right? And it's pointing to localhost 5050, which is directly pointing to this web API application, right? But if we deploy this application, this part has to be changed while we are deploying this application, right? If it is a development environment, then must be pointing to the dev server. If we deploy this application into the production, then must be pointing to the production, the server URL. So it's kind of the flaky. I mean, it's kind of tiring because if we have a lot of application to deploy, then we have to consider these kind of things. So instead of that, let's choose this one. Now, what it does is that we use HTTP protocol, and we use this API application reference, right? So by doing so, it automatically resolve all the URL by the app host project. Okay. So this is our. So everything looks okay. Now, all I need is that I don't need to run all those 4 projects at the same time. All I need is to run this app host project. So I'm going to use set as a starter project, and I'm going to use either HTTP or HTTPS. So for now, I only have HTTP. Now, so if I run this application, the app host project, then it will. So it runs app host project like this, and it will open this dashboard. This is the Aspire dashboard. And what it says is, oops. Okay. What it says is endpoint. So here, so it connects the API application and front-end application directly here. So if I click this, then it shows me front-end application using localhost 5000, but the same application as before. Okay, but what we can see here is that the dashboard and stuff. So in this dashboard, these are the applications we are running now for now, and these are console log file of each application, API application and web application as well. And this is a trace. So that trace means we are using all the traffic from the front end to back end. So if there is a database connected here, and that the transaction goes into the front end API database and come back all the way down and all the way up, we can see these traffics in here. But now at this moment, we don't see this kind of things, right? So let's go into here. I will put the same URL and see how it's going.
So is this running on Kubernetes now, Justin?
It is running on it's not running on Kubernetes. It's just running on the containers itself.
It's still running anyway on the Docker desktop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for this application is just on top of just on my local machine, even without Docker desktop. But if I want to add Redis cache at some stage, then that Redis cache is running on the container side.
Right.
But
like
for now,
you showed us at the start, right? That was just running natively on
my machine.
But now what you're showing us, it's containerized. Is it already?
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm jumping the gun. I'll let you get that.
So if I click on the summarize button, and what we are expecting is that it takes a bit of time to get the result from the Azure OpenAI, right? It takes about 20 seconds or 30 seconds, or even like around 60 seconds to get the result. But taking the 20 seconds is kind of not unacceptable for the cloud native application, especially in the web application scenario, because usually because can you see that? So didn't complete because timeout of 30 seconds. And let's go into here. There is the error, right? So we have an error of this, and see the view in here. We have tried a few times, 1, 2, and 3. And these 3 times we have timeout error because of that. So before applying Aspire, there was no problem at all. But now we have a problem. Why is that? Because we added service default, which is the applying all the resiliency and those kind of things. And within the resiliency, we have like the timeout, default settings of timeout, default settings for retry, default settings for circuit breaker, these kind of things. Right? This is automatically added to avoid any sort of service disruption. So we need to figure out these kind of things within the thing. So let's go back to close all the things here and open the service default extension method here. And in here, there is the default value of OpenTelemetry configuration and default health check the things, and default service discovery, and configure the HTTP client default. In here, there is standard resilience handler. So that comes from the library. So we don't have we have no idea what that is. So I'm going to, but I have no idea what it is, but what I know is that it comes with default options. So all the default options, and because of that default option, it throws an error for me. Now I'm going to change this one with this. I'm going to change with this option. So okay, now with this option, it says add resilience handler, the same resilience handler, but it is customized. And within the customization, I put retry of 5 times, and with exponential the time span, and I add circuit breaker pattern. So if it fails 3 times, it just close the circuit. And I also add timeout, 60 seconds, because our application throws an error because it took longer than 30 seconds, right? So I just put the 60 seconds for now. So with this information, I customized the resiliency setting, and see how it's going. Now we go to, we are running the app host again. And the same thing here. yeah, open the same display application and same YouTube URL and wait for the result. Then it will return the result within 30 seconds, between 30 seconds and 60 seconds. And while we are waiting, so trace, it says, okay, so API application is being hit, and if it is okay, if there is a problem, it will show there's an error, like on the red dot here. But if it is okay, then it's okay. Now, when we see that, so actually the most the time-consuming part is that calling the Azure OpenAI to get the result, and this has of like more than 20 seconds, and it actually now is okay, right? And as a result, we get the result right there. So we customize the resiliency setting by customizing our extension method for service report. And what we can see on the dashboard here is that all these kind of the things can be traced through the OpenTelemetry protocol. So this is how we can use them. And also we see all the metrics here and what can be done, or so this kind of dashboard things gives us a lot of information for us to which part need to be looked at, which part need to be like investigated or something like that. So yeah, this is how we use our Aspire dashboard for our application development on my local machine. So for now, as James mentioned, this is just the .NET application, and we don't use it we don't use containers at the moment. But if we are adding message bus like a RabbitMQ, we are adding cache application like a Redis cache, or we are adding event streaming tools like Kafka or something like that. They are from containers, and in that case, we start using our local Docker container, like a Docker desktop or something like that. Still, we don't use Kubernetes yet. But we do use containers.
Just a question for you from the audience. So the question is, I understood Aspire to have the open telemetry feature. Wondering if you can integrate with third parties like New Relic, Datadog, etc.
Oh, that's a really good question. I have no idea. So I don't have an answer yet. But if we deploy this application into the Kubernetes cluster, and we can definitely use Prometheus. And I think based on those kind of ideas, as long as they provide us with adapters for their the OpenTelemetry stuff, then I'm pretty sure we can use it.
Cool, thanks.
So yeah, we have completed our local development now. So I'm happy. I'm happy with this application to be deployed. So to be deployable now. So I'm going to close this application. Now let's deploy this application. So I'm going to close this one, and I'm opening the Visual Studio Code. So what I did is done on demo 1 here. Now I'm going to use demo 2. So I have put exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Now I'm going to use. I need to delete these files first. Okay. So these are the information. Now I'm going to deploy this application using Azure Developer CLI. So using Azure Developer CLI, we can deploy this application directly from my local to Azure Container Apps. So currently there is only one. There is only one. The service is supported, which is Azure Container Apps. Now, AZD. Let's say I'm going to use the environment name like this. So I've done a demo 2. Then the developer CLI use if I want to use developer CLI, I just need to initiate this one. Then if you are familiar with Azure Developer CLI, it is recently updated to use the Aspire app. Before that, we have only option select a template, but now it checks the code. The Azure Developer CLI check my code to create bicep file. So let's check. So use the code, and it will automatically scans my project. Then with this, it will be identifying, oh, you are using Aspire. Then we are going to deploy your Aspire-flavored Aspire web application into Azure Container Apps. So that will say, so see how it's going. So once it's done, then we can set up we can deploy application to there. It takes a little bit of time. I think my machine is getting older, so it takes a bit of time to take this one. So once it's done, and it will generate the Azure.yaml file and some sort of configuration data into under .azure directory. And let's wait a few more seconds here. So it checks my application. So once it's done, then I will deploy this application into Azure. So before doing that, so let's check a little bit about the slide here. So I'm going to move on to the second demo for now. So serverless container service. So I'm going to deploy this application into the serverless container service. And there are 3 different serverless container service for now, which is Azure Container Apps and AWS Fargate and Google Cloud Run. Currently, the Aspire, the applications only support Azure Container Apps for now. But as I mentioned, Aspire provide a standardized interface. So we have already sent this interface spec to both AWS and Google .NET team. So they are building their the libraries on their side. And I saw the one PR from the AWS side about integrating their the CDK, AWS CDK for the .NET Aspire. So once it is merged, and then we will be able to use the .NET Aspire application, which is deployable to AWS Fargate service. So so we get that here. So select. So it checks as AZD will generate the files necessary to host your application on Azure using Azure Container Apps. That's what device AZD found. So I can say yes. Then it asks me again. So I have API application, I have cache application, I have web app application. Now, so which one should I expose to the public? Then web application is the only one we can expose to the public, right? All the other API application and cache, we don't have to expose. So let's check web application, then end. Then it said it creates Azure and Alt.NET demo, and we have environment file and configuration file, those things. So within the configuration.json, it says, okay, this web application is exposed to the public, but not anything else. So this is the configuration, and also it has Azure.yaml file. We are going to deploy. We are going to use app host project for building containers and deploy those containers into the Azure Container Apps, right? So use the host Azure Container Apps. So we are ready. And then all we can do is AZD up. AZD up means AZD up provisions all the necessary Azure resources, like container registry and container apps and other like the managed identity or keyboard, this kind of stuff. So it automatically does it for me. So it takes about 5 to 6 minutes. So let's wait another minute here. So it takes about yeah, so AZD up means we are, as I said, we are provisioning all the resources. Once the resources are provisioned, then it will be deploying those applications. Now, with bicep provider, right? And I need to choose my subscription, and also I need to choose the location to be deployed. So choose Australia East, yeah. And it packages something like this. So what the first one does is that, as we mentioned, saw that before, it generates bicep files, but there's no bicep files here, right? So there's no bicep file. So what does that mean? So I can create bicep file. So what I can do here is that, okay, AZD infra synth. So same thing here. So using this command, AZD infra synth, then without this, AZD up generate bicep file in memory and use it from the memory. But we want to know what actually creates. So create the AZD infra synth, then you will be able to see the infra directory here. So it will be generating the infra directory here, so that we can find out what kind of the bicep file will be generated. So yeah, here it creates the older resource group and the relevant the resources here. Okay, so okay, use arrow to move. Okay, overwrite. So it is generated the infra directory, and infra directory, under the infra directory, it creates the main bicep files. Yeah. So this is the automatically generated by AZD, and there's nothing special here. All the necessary information goes into the resource bicep, and within the resource bicep file, it will create user assigned identity resource. It creates container registry resource. It creates a role assignment resource. It creates the log analytics. It creates the managed environment and container apps for cache, container apps for yeah, all the things. So it creates container apps instance for cache, and after that, it will this AZD up will build a container image and push this container image into the container registry, and this container image, the image published on the container registry, can be pulled out to the container apps. So it takes a bit more time. So now we so hang on, I will close that. So it provisions all the necessary resources now. Now it is deploying the application. So API application is being deployed now. So once it's done, and it will be deploying the web application. Okay. And here, another one. Another one. So if so how can those the container images build, and how can they connect? How can they connect to each other? So I'm going to run this command, which is .NET run apphost project. But this time, if I run only this, then it will run. It will show us on the dashboard browser. But if I put those two options, publish a manifest and the output Aspire-manifest JSON, then it will generate the typical Kubernetes manifest file. So let's take a look. And here, so under the app host file, it will generate this the Aspire manifest file, which is the already generated before. But let's wait a few more seconds. Okay. So it is generated. Now, so so it's done. So if I I open this Aspire.manifest file, it says, okay, we are going to create container of cache using this connection string. We are going to create API app container image from this project using this OLTP endpoint and using this kind of as an OpenAI endpoint connection string. Also, we are going to create web application container image from this web app project and using this the OpenTelemetry protocol and uses and it connects to the cache string and it talks to the API application like this. So with this manifest file, it builds a container image and publish it to the container registry. And Azure Container Apps pulls those images from the container registry. So I think it's done. Okay, so it's done now. So let's go here, and I'm going to refresh the page. And here, oops. Where is it? Where is my, oops. I see my number 2. I cannot see. It says, I'm done. It says, I'm done. Okay. It seems to be done. It should be done. Just a matter of time to refresh the page. Okay. But anyway, so if I go into there, oh, something's happening. Something happening. Did it? Okay, it took 4 minutes. It took about 5 minutes, and it turned out failed. No, it shouldn't. But let me. It comes soon. It comes in soon. So it takes a bit time. Sometimes it has a latency to show us. So let's get back to a bit later. Still, yeah, demo guard still likes me. Now, so let's move on to the other demo. The final demo is that, so I showed you to deploy the Aspire application into the container apps, but there are many companies still many companies prefer using the Kubernetes cluster, right? So in this case, how can we deploy this application? But as I showed you before, AZD only support container apps. So there is the third-party the deployment tool called Aspirate. So we can use this Aspirate tool to deploy the Aspire application into the designated Kubernetes cluster, which is the managed Kubernetes cluster. So with this with this tool, we can actually deploy our application to virtually any Kubernetes managed Kubernetes cluster, such as AKS or Amazon EKS or Google GKE or other the other cloud service providers Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so Aspirate helps us deploy those those Aspire-flavored applications into your preferred Kubernetes cluster. Okay, for now, I'm going to use the AKS for this. Okay, so let's get back to the Visual Studio again. Now, I'm going to use the demo 3 for now. In here, the same thing. And now, this time, I'm going to use this information for this. So it takes a bit of time to provision the Kubernetes cluster on the Azure. So I have already made that. So I'm just getting all the information now. And I'm going to use the Kubernetes cluster context here. And currently I have AKS alternate demo 3 on the Kubernetes cluster. Now I'm going to get the login information from the Azure Container Registry. And get the login server name, and I'm going to get the username from the ACR. I'm going to get the password from ACR, and with this information, I need to log into Docker first. So with this Docker, so using this Docker CLI, I logged into our ACR to publish our container image. Now, what we need to do is that this tool, this command, .NET tool install Aspire-flavoured. That Aspire-flavoured tool is actually help us to deploy our Aspire application into the cloud, into the Kubernetes cluster. But for now, is the latest version is the 1.40, 0.1.40. So it's still in preview. So yeah, you can take a look. Now I have installed and Aspire-flavoured. So the version is 0.1.40. So this is the latest version. I think it is released last night or this morning. Now I'm going to move on to the app host project. Oh, it's already there. So I'm already in the app host project here. Now what it does is that I'm going to use the Aspire-flavoured. Use Aspire-flavoured init, and we are choosing the ACR, and we are choosing the fallback, the tag as the latest, something like that is the Kubernetes, the command, and it will generate in here. It generates Aspire-flavoured file like this. So it has the information of where the container registry is, and what the tag is, and what the container image builder format is, something like that. Then once it's done, then I'm going to run this the command Aspire-flavoured generate. And Aspire-flavoured generator, I can put the tag as well, and I put how we can pull the image from the container registry. And for now, I just disable the secret. But if you are using this one for your production, then you shouldn't disable. You should not disable the secret. Anyway, so it actually in here, it built by the application like the .NET Run project and create the publish manifest file that I showed you before. That it, based on this information, it will generate customize the YAML file, and after that, it will build the API application and web application for me, and push those container image into where is it? The Azure Container Registry. So let's take a look. We wait a few more minutes here. Maybe it takes a little bit longer than I expected because it's kind of the regional the distance, because I'm in Korea now and I'm using the Australia East data center. So anyway, now so it builds so it generates the container image like this, and it will upload this container image into Azure Container Registry. So let's wait a few more seconds. And as I showed you before, this manifest file is actually what we are going to build as a container. So as I showed you before, it builds cache, Redis cache, it builds API application, it builds web application, and with all those information. And this is exactly what I showed you in the previous demo, right? And it is uploading to the container registry with tag of v1. Now, we published the API application. Now we are publishing the web application to the container registry. So we have a few 30 more seconds, hopefully. So once it's done, what I want to show you is that this one. So we have app settings file, right? And we have all the OpenAI connection string here, but this is not the one. We have development file, app settings.development.json file. We have the real connection string here. But these the connection string, where is it? So this connection string is under the app host file, and this connection string we are using is the API application. So how can it propagate this connection string from app host to the API application? This is what the app host orchestration file does, something like this. So I think I showed you before. So we have added API app and we have added web app. Then the first one, we added the reference for the API application. Now we created Redis cache, and this Redis cache is also added to the web application as well. And now we want to add these OpenAI endpoint, the API details to API application by reading configuration file of app settings.json and add those information into with environment. So because of this orchestration command, we can see here. We can see this API app has those informations as well, even if it doesn't know what the API details are, right? So everything is done. So I think the Kubernetes has the container registry has all the container details here like this. The API app and the web app container image has built and published to the container registry. Now, what we can do is that we have published all the container images. Now we are deploying those applications into those container images into our Kubernetes cluster, which is using the Aspire apply. Now, so all I do is that it has, okay, so it created like this. Okay, so everything looks okay. Now, what I say, so in that case, let's check how the service is going on. Now, so we have API app deployed, we have cache deployed, we have web app deployed, but these are not exposed to the public yet. So there are many ways to expose our web application, but for now, we are just using the Kubernetes native and load balancer the feature using the Kubernetes apply, and we just simply add the load balancer here. Then it says, okay, load balancer is added, and we are taking the external IP address for now. Then if we go into here on this Kubernetes cluster, there is service option, and we will be able to see these things, right? So it's already there, and we have the deployed API app, cache, web app, and finally we added load balancer. Yeah, and then it has, okay, this external IP. Okay, I get that. Then it opens our application, right? Then if I put, where is it? If I put the same YouTube URL, then it will generate the summary for us. Okay. So yeah, that's how we deploy our Aspire application into Azure Container Apps and the Azure Kubernetes cluster service. So you can, with this Aspire tool, third-party tools, you can actually deploy your the Aspire application into your preferred Kubernetes cluster. Yeah, it can be AKS, it can be EKS, it can be GKE or whatsoever. Okay. So it's done. Now, so I showed you a lot of demos for now. Now let's summarize. So how was the demo? Even if my Azure Container Apps failed, but finally the container AKS was successful.
Almost everything worked.
So yeah, for now, so I use my first time to introduce what the .NET Aspire is, and I build Aspire orchestration to existing apps on my local machine, and deploy these Aspire-flavored applications into Azure Container Apps and Azure Kubernetes Service. So these kind of things, you can do it by yourself. So for now, Preview 3 is available. And I think the Preview 4 is the releasing soon. So yeah, I'm hoping it will be GA soon. soon. Actually, there is a build conference in May. So I'm hoping the .NET Aspire will be GA before build, but who knows? So if you want to try out by yourself, and yeah, if you want to take a screenshot here, so you need to have .NET 8 first, and the second link is about all the documents you can use for the .NET Aspire, and there are a bunch of the other sample codes in our GitHub repository. So aka.ms/.NET/Aspire/samples, and you will be able to see a lot of the .NET Aspire samples, including your Node.js-based the JavaScript application as a front-end application. So you can see how we can integrate your like a React application into Aspire, the orchestration cluster. So that's something we can see in the Aspire samples. Right, I think that's it from me.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed my session.
Thank you very much, Justin. Do we have any questions from the audience? Let's see. Now's your chance to ask Justin.
Okay. So what kind of the question should I take?
So Sarah said, "Amazing talk and demo," which is nice.
Thank you.
And we'll see if anyone's got any questions before we close. All right. So yeah, C# of T's wondering about Aspire competing to Dapper.
That's that's a question quite asked very often. We can say I don't know much about Dapper, but we say it's not competitor. It's not competing to each other. It's complementary. So, and I showed you the link, the sample code link, and in there, how you can integrate, how you can use both Dapper and Aspire at the same time. So it's not competing to each other. So you can use both if you like.
Any other questions? Also, for the links, Justin, would you be able to paste those into a meetup comment just on the event, and then they'll go out to everyone? Yeah, afterwards.
No, say again.
Sorry, would you be able to paste the links to the resources into a meetup comment on the meetup?
Oh yeah. After the session, I will put the link for the what you can use. You can try out.
Sounds good. You got GitHub link. Any other questions, or shall we close on the questions? And
yeah. So I think I have answered.
Organ telemetry is already well discussed. And the questions about integrating with AWS, I think, well covered already. All right. Well, in that case, I might ask some questions of the audience for the prizes.
So in Dimitri says it's too Azure centric. Yeah, because I'm working for Microsoft, so I use the older demo for Azure with Azure. But the last demo about Kubernetes cluster is simply the cloud agnostic. So you can deploy your applications, the Aspire application, into any Kubernetes cluster if you like.
Sounds good. All right, so I'll ask some prize questions now. So be ready at your keyboards. Very good. Lots of people saying thank you and great talk. All right, so first one. So according to Justin, what's the main thing in being cloud native? The main point that makes an app cloud native?
What did I say?
Dimitri says scalability. Yeah, the scale up and the scale down. I think that was what I think you said, right? Do you agree?
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, if the speaker agrees, I think Dimitri gets. I should have said this is for JetBrains license. And then we got more on resilience and scalability and containerized. But I think the winner here is Dimitri. So please send me your email address and I'll send you a JetBrains license, unless you got too many. I mean, we can possibly switch things around if there's someone who'd rather have the license rather than the conference ticket. Do you need another JetBrains license, Dimitri? Resell back. Otherwise, I can give it to Sarah if you don't want it as a second answer. Does that mean you want me to hand it to Sarah, Dimitri? Please confirm.
Sarah says thank you.
So Dimitri, I'll give the license to Sarah. Say yes if that seems all right. Please do. All right. So Sarah, send me. I'm probably got your email already, but just send me your email in a meetup message, so I just remember to send you the JetBrains license. And very good. Sorry, Dimitri, it might have been delayed that it came through. All right. Very good. All right, is everyone ready for the next question, which is also for a JetBrains license? I'm saving the last question for the conference because that's the biggest prize. So the build up to the biggest prize. All right. So next question. So what do you use to deploy .NET Aspire to plain Kubernetes on any cloud?
That's tricky.
Not the detail. Oh, look, Dimitri, you can't stop getting your licenses. You might have to take one at this rate. All right. Otherwise, I can ask another question, which Dimitri is not allowed to answer. Not at all. All right, I'll ask one more question. Dimitri, unless you want to get a license, then don't answer the next one. We got a detailed answer from Real Rusky. Are you a colleague of Justin, by the way?
I don't know. Oh,
there you go. All right, so I'll give an easy question for the second JetBrains license. So what .NET version do you need to be able to use .NET Aspire?
Dimitri, no.
There you go, Gareth. Francis, you're not helping. Gareth, yes.
You are trolling, Francis.
It's got the answer there. All right, so send me your email address, and there you go. Well, it was the backup question actually. So yeah, send me your email address on Meetup, and I'll send you through the JetBrains license. And maybe it was an easy question. Maybe you're just so talented. There you go. That's a better spin on it, right? All right. So last question. This is for the big prize, for the conference ticket. So if you can't go to the conference, though, maybe don't answer until later. Just keep the answer in your head, because otherwise we'll have to I'll have to try and find another question. I don't know if I've got any more questions. All right. So the important question is, what are the .NET Aspire components made out of? Try to choose a bit harder one for this one than the .NET version. Or to give you more of a hint, like how are they packaged and what's inside?
I think we have an answer.
It's close. It's close.
I was fishing for something. Think more on like the overall thing that pulls it all together, like the overall sort of package. What sort of thing is it? Though, Dimitri, you've answered so many questions, I'm tempted to give you the conference ticket anyway. You do want that one, don't you? When's the conference? I think we said it was the 21st, right? Let me double check. 21st of March, I think.
Is it in Sydney?
Yes, that's right.
Ah.
Yeah, Thursday, 21st.
Yeah, real Roski, the rephrase the question again.
All right. So I mean, at the highest level, what sort of package management? I mean, the package management is the big hint there. So what is a component? How do you get one from where, and what's it all packaged up into? Otherwise, we can take Dimitri's answer, which is certainly what's inside it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we've got another answer. Gareth seems to be fighting there.
Gareth, are you asking ChatGPT? What do you mean by rejecting the answer?
Yeah, NuGet was what I was fishing for. NuGet with standard interfaces.
So older than the packages are coming from NuGet. So, and Aspire, then there are actually 4 the Aspire related the project template: Aspire Starter, Aspire itself, and Aspire Project, and Aspire App Host, and Aspire Service Depot. So there are 4 project templates, but they are all coming from NuGet.
So Real Rusky says that Gareth is the winner. What do you think? I mean, we've had an earlier answer. What do you want to go with, Justin? As the speaker, you have the final call.
I will leave that to you.
Me? Oh no! No, you need to decide. Is it going to be Gareth, or is it going to be Dimitri for the winner?
Yes. Garrett, Garrett's thinking. Okay, so yeah, I will go for Garrett because he gives us an exact answer.
All right, Gareth, you're the winner of 2 things, I think. Yes. So you only need to send me 1 email, and I'll send you through the stuff. That's pretty good. Sorry, Dimitri, you are very, very close call on the conference ticket. Gareth, you can definitely come to the conference right before we declare it done on the 21st.
Seems to be.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here. And yes, most of all, thank you, Justin, for giving such a good talk and finding demo gods and doing almost 50 minutes of solid demo that almost went flawlessly. No one noticed. If you wouldn't have highlighted it, you probably could have moved on, and no one would have known that the last little bit didn't come up. So now, also, if anyone has something they want to talk about, then drop us a message on Meetup, and we can book you in for one or talk about the talk and when we can fit you into the speaking schedule. So please don't be shy if you've got something that you want to talk about.
Yep. So I hope you all of you enjoyed my session, and yeah, thanks for having me tonight. I will see you next time.
Thank you very much. All right. Good night, everyone. See you next month.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Ciao.